Hello everyone, my name is Jillian from Hammer's Red Jewel. I'm going to do a book review today on 4 different books. Now they're all in the same series, but I just read them straight through. I only have like 2 more books left. Yeah, 2 more books left and then 3 novellas I think. The books I'm going to be reviewing for you are the Lunar Chronicles, and I know a lot of you have seen a bunch about the Lunar Chronicles, but they are just so good, and it's kind of hard to explain why I waited so long up until Cress to start reviewing them. I started Stars Above in between Scarlet and Cress. There are novellas that I missed after Cinder and before Scarlet, and I had read Scarlet already, so I wanted to catch up on those novellas too. And Stars Above, which is this one, has all the novellas plus the ones that weren't published yet. So it has like all of the ones. There's maybe 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 novellas, and I believe there's like 6 or 7 before you're supposed to start reading Cress. I have the list because between the chapters, and I'll link her down below, gave us a list, and she did a wonderful job. Not read these books without her help. I'm going to give the list to you now, but you can also go to her YouTube, and I'll link, like I said, I'll link her down below so you can go check her out. She's fantastic. I'm going to give them to you in case you don't have time to look and you're just looking at mine right now. So it goes Cinder, and then I have them on my phone, so forgive me. Then it goes The Mechanic, The Little Android, The Queen's Army, and then it goes Scarlet, The Keeper, Glitches, After Sunshine Passes, and then Cress. And then after Cress, it goes Carswell's Guide to Being Lucky, and then Fairest. Then the novella The Princess and the Guard, and then the last novella is Something Old and Something New. But that is the list. The first book is Cinder, like I said. Cinder is about a girl who's a cyborg. She's a top-notch cyborg mechanic that takes place in New Beijing. And she is a ward of a family. And the husband, I forget his name, he took her in when she was 11 years old. And that is like the only memory she has is waking up and she's suddenly 11. The woman Audrey is not very nice. She doesn't treat Cinder like a part of the family. She treats her more like a servant because she is a cyborg, and she does know that fact. And in this world, this lunar world, cyborgs are not, like, they're not human to them, because it goes in further into like the whole detailing of why cyborgs aren't like a part of the society of humans or anything like that. Cinder has 2 sisters, well, 2 stepsisters, and their names are Pearl and Peony. There's a disease that's going around called leishmaniasis. There are a lot of things that happen in this book that I don't want to mention. Her one stepsister, Pearl, is not a big fan of hers, just like Audrey, her stepmother is. And her stepfather isn't alive anymore. So he can't help her in that sense. So in a lot of ways, this is just like Cinderella, hence the name Cinder. But Peony is her younger stepsister, and she loves Cinder so much. And I thought that was a nice little twist to the Cinderella story. Not that the cyborg thing is like not a twist enough, but I loved that Peony loved her so much, and they were friends. There's also a android. Her name is Aiko. And then there's Prince Kai. His father is diagnosed with leishmaniasis, and it's an uncurable disease. Lunars brought, and the Lunars are from the moon. There's the Queen Lavina, and you find out like a whole bunch of mean stuff about her and just her planning and everything like that. But this book is mainly about Cinder, Aiko, her family, or her step family, and then Prince Kai, and you find out a bunch about Prince Kai. I completely adore him. He's so sweet, so nice. Definitely check this book out if you haven't already. 3 novellas, like I said, they're in Stars Above. They're not in order in Stars Above. In here, They go the Keeper, Glitches, Queen's Army, Carswell Guide, you know, that sort of thing. Not from what I said. So from what I said, it was the mechanic, the little android, and then Queen's Army. The mechanic was about Kai's point of view in a certain part of the book of Cinder. There's a scene in Cinder where Kai and Cinder meet in the marketplace where Cinder works at, and she's working on something, because that whole scene is played out through Kai's point of view. And you get to see what he's thinking, and it's kind of interesting to see that play out, because you only get to see her side of it, and you don't really see his arrogance, it's just really, really interesting, and I thought that was a really good start to get into the novellas. The little android kind of broke my heart. I loved the story, don't get me wrong, I loved it completely, but it was just, I don't know, you'll have to read it to find out. It's about a little android who saves a person from drowning, and kind of gets, it kind of gets like tossed in the trash because androids aren't supposed to have a mind of their own, they're supposed to only follow orders. Well, if she hadn't followed orders, the guy would have died. And so she gets tossed in the trash, and a few things happen to her, you know, just a bunch of things. Next one is the Queen's Army, and that one gave me so much insight into this army that in Cinder, or in Scarlet, you find out what the army is, or what it entails. And I wish I would have read Queen's Army beforehand, and that would have probably gave me a better understanding of what this army entails. There's this little boy who gets drafted, and, you know, he has not special needs, but he is special to their military in some form. He gets trained to be like the military at 8 years old. I think that's when it was. I might be wrong about that, but I think it was 8. And his name was Zevev. I think. I couldn't pronounce it. It was like Z-E-V-E or something like that. So I think it's Zevev, but they called him Z. And he had a brother, and they only wanted Z. And then you find out how he was transformed into this special unit and stuff like that. And then it goes into Scarlet. And Scarlet is about this girl who lives on a farm with her grandmother, who's had problems with her dad. Her mom was like ran away from their family. And Scarlet was brought up by her grandmother, who is strong-willed, strong-minded, and so stubborn. And so Scarlet is the same way. And this one is a Red Riding Hood retelling, my favorite. And I completely fell in love with this story. I fell in love with Scarlet and Wolf, which she meets later on. And Cinder shows up in here, but not till like halfway, I think. There's a certain point in this book where Cinder does show up, and there's different point of views you go back and forth from. I love the so-called romance that she and Wolf have, because it's not your typical love story kind of a thing. But she meets Wolf in like a street fight, like a back alley street fight. And in the very beginning of the book, you find out that her grandmother was taken, and everyone thinks she's a crazy old bat and stuff like that, but she's not. And Scarlet knows that. So I just thought this book was really interesting, and you get to find out a whole lot more about Wolf and Scarlet, and then you get to find out a whole lot more about Cinder and Kai, and how Kai feels about this whole thing and what happened in the first book, which I'm not going to mention because it's spoiled. And then it goes back to the Stars Above. It goes to the Keeper. The Keeper is about Michelle Bennett's, which is Scarlet Bennett's grandmother. It goes on about how she was taking care of this little girl who had a very unfortunate accident caused by some very important people. I'm trying to make this as brief as possible because I don't want people to get spoiled if they have not read these books yet. She comes into care for this little girl, and she has to hide her away because no one's supposed to know that she survived a very terrible accident. And then Scarlet, again, having problems with her dad, comes to live with her grandma, and you find out the troubles and stuff like that. There's some things that were said between a mysterious man and her grandmother, and Scarlet thought they were talking about her. So you get to find out more about that in that book, or in that novella. It goes to Glitches, where the girl wakes up. And I know most of you are going to know who that little girl is, and you might have figured it out already, but I'm not going to say it is, just in case you haven't. The little girl wakes up and she finds herself living with a family that doesn't want her. And it just talks about how she's not wanted and how she's not able to do things around the house, do certain chores, and everyone feels like she's useless. Everyone thinks that she's useless, and she's really not. And then it goes into After Sunshine Passes. That is the story before Cress, and you find out what happens to Cress. She's set on a very important mission from one of her leaders, and she's Lunar. And you find out what happens in between that. You find out why she's kind of an orphan on the moon. And finally we have Cress. I think I like this book. I mean, I loved Scarlet, don't get me wrong, but I think I like this book more because I love Carswell Thorne, and you get to meet him throughout the book and stuff like that. I don't know what else to say about this book without giving away too much detail about what happens. And again, I don't want any spoilers to happen. The next 5 things I have to read in this whole series is 3 novellas and 2 books. And I'm super, super excited to get started on them. Thank you guys for watching so much, and I hope to see you guys in my next video. Bye!